We went 13-3 last week in our NFL picks. 1-0 already this week. Are we? Yeah, we are. 1-0 this week. As week 14 is upon us with the 13-3 record. Last week, our overall record now moves to 117 wins to 77 losses. That does, I believe, include the win that happened, the win that took place on Thursday. Sorry, I totally got distracted. Alrighty, let's get to it. A lot of NFL stuff to talk about today, including a game that is postponed until tomorrow due to kind of the weather that I'm dealing with here. Okay, we kick things off though with Cleveland and Buffalo. This game right here, right off the bat, is hard to pick. It's hard to know what's going to happen. Buffalo seems, especially lately, to have different personalities. They'll play you tough, or they will lay down. They played the Steelers tough, just about beat them. Then they turned around against Minnesota last week. Looked like for a while after Favre got knocked out with shoulder injury, they were going to be able to keep up with the Vikings, and then the Vikings ended up blowing them out. So there's two different sides of the Bills. The question is which one are you going to get? The same thing can be said for the Cleveland Browns. There's two sides to the Cleveland Brown team too. There's a team that'll play you hard, and there's a team that will weigh you down. More times than not, the team that has played you hard has been the team that has played this season. You know, they gave the Ravens fits in Baltimore. They annihilated the Saints. They got a win over the Dolphins last week, even though the Dolphins are a somewhat ailing team. So it's interesting. It should be an interesting game. Probably not a pretty one. Should be an interesting one. I say Cleveland wins the game. Next up, we have Atlanta and Carolina. And I noticed something as I watched the Tampa Bay Buccaneer Atlanta Falcon game last week, and I notice Atlanta is nowhere near as good as everybody thought. Atlanta is a little bit past mediocre. They make a lot of mistakes. Let me rephrase that. They're good offensively. For the most part, Matt Ryan is exceptional. Flawless. Doesn't make many mistakes. He had a couple picks last week against Tampa. Couple errant throws. And he should have had probably a couple more picks than what he had if it wasn't for dropped possible interceptions. Offensively, Atlanta is stout. They're solid. Defensively, though, yikes. LeGarrette Blount ran all over them last week. They struggle. I think the defense is going to... This is a good game to have for Atlanta at this point. Their defense is going to be able to get some confidence back. Defense is going to roll all over Carolina today. Carolina is awful. John Fox in trouble. I think John Fox gets fired. And he could get fired, and I believe I'm the first one to say this. He could possibly, if Atlanta loses, get fired this week the way we're seeing coaches go. We saw Wade Phillips get fired. We saw Childress get fired. This week, Josh McDaniels got fired out of Denver. So we could see that happen. I got Atlanta rolling all over Carolina today. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions. First of all, I do want to say this. What was up with the uniforms the Packers wore last week? They were throwbacks. They were ugly. They were not Packerish. It was difficult to watch. That was an eyesore. Detroit. To be honest, as a Packer fan, I'm worried about the Packers in this game. Detroit plays everybody hard. Detroit should have beat the Packers at Lambeau earlier this year. When it comes right down to it, they should have won that game. They didn't, but they should have. And that makes me really, really nervous. Green Bay is a bit healthier, I believe, than they were then in the first meeting. But Green Bay needs to be really careful because Detroit, Calvin Johnson will beat you. And I think for the Lions to beat the Packers today, they need to use a big dose of Calvin Johnson. That's what it's going to take. For the Lions, or for the Packers, Rodgers is going to need to have himself a big game. Jennings is going to need to come up big yet again. Driver's had some mistakes the last few weeks. He needs to get over that. Clay Matthews needs to have himself a big game. He needs to get himself some sacks, which I think he'll do. As the Packers win this game, I don't think it's close. I'm sorry. I guess it's hard to say. I think it's a 10-point Packer win today, to be honest. Next up, we have Oakland Raiders, Jacksonville Jaguars. Oakland beat the tar out of San Diego last week. Jacksonville continues to play hot. Just about getting a win over the Giants last week. I think Jacksonville wins this game. And I'll tell you why. Obviously, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Jacksonville. Excuse me. Jacksonville is not going to be happy about losing to the Giants last week. They held the lead in a big part of that game, for most of that game. In fact, I believe the Giants won. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I believe the Giants did win. I should know. And sorry, I'm waiting for a video to start because that's why I'll just mute my computer. Okay, so Giants aren't going to be happy, and I also think the Raiders are going to be a little bit high coming off the way they manhandled San Diego. I think they're going to be coming off a little bit of a high from that. Jacksonville's playing too hot right now. I think Jacksonville is too much for Oakland to handle. I don't think Jacksonville blows them out of the water, but I do think Jacksonville wins the football game. Sorry, my computer, for whatever reason, is running a bit slow. Okay, we need to step things up a little bit here and make things a little bit quicker as far as the pick thing goes. Okay, next up we have Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Cincinnati is going to continue to be bad. They made a mistake. They had a chance to beat the Saints last week. 4th down, you knew the Saints were going to try to draw off sides. You knew they weren't going to run a play, and the Bengals fell. They fell for the bait. They jumped. Penalty. Saints win that game. Because of it, Saints win that game. Get a first down, get a touchdown, win the football game. Cincinnati had a chance to beat the Saints. They made a mistake. Could not do it. Pittsburgh, looking good. Beat Baltimore last week. Ben Roethlisberger has a broken nose. Will play today. I think he has himself a big day. I think Pittsburgh rolls over Cincinnati. Tampa Bay and Washington. I was impressed with what I saw from Tampa Bay last week. Like I said, I watched that game. Washington, boy, that place is a nut house. Mike Shanahan, Albert Hainsworth. Hainsworth, benched for the rest of the year. He will not talk to Shanahan. He refuses to perform in positions. You know what? Hainsworth, here's the deal. You are, I believe, the highest paid in your position in the league. Maybe even in league history, I believe. Shut the hell up and play the game. Seriously, it's really not that difficult. Just shut up and play the game. Players like you really irritate the hell out of me. There, I said it. I think Washington wins this game. Hainsworth needs to get his act together. And it's just something needs to change. St. Louis and New Orleans. I tell you, New Orleans just about lost to Cincinnati last week. This gives St. Louis a chance to pull off a major upset. I still like the way St. Louis looks. They are my pick to win the NFC West. I think they do. I don't think they beat the Saints today. I think it's a good game, though. Seattle and San Francisco. I've got San Francisco. Seattle continues to look bad. The NFC West is horrible still, as it's been all year long. Seattle is horrible, as it's been all year long. They need some work. Matt Hasselbeck, nowhere near the quarterback he used to be. San Francisco wins this game. Denver and Arizona. Like I mentioned earlier, Josh McDaniels out as Denver Broncos head coach. Things look good for interim coaches so far this year. They are 2-0 in their first game. Let's see if they can keep things going. Arizona continues to struggle. They're a horrible, horrible team. I think it does keep going. I think interim coaches for 3-0 on the year. I've got Denver winning the game. New England Patriots, Chicago Bears. It should be a good game. Going to be an important game. Going to be a tight game at Soldier Field. At Soldier Field, it is windy. I believe 39-hour winds are expected for the game today. It is a snowy field. I saw it earlier on ESPN. The field is covered. It is going to be a nasty winter Patriot looking like game. Should be a good one. New England wins in a close game. Miami and the New York Jets. The New York Jets showed on Monday night after they laid an egg against Patriots. They are struggling without their defensive quarterback, Jim Leonard. They need to figure something out to replace him. You're not going to completely be able to replace him. He is too big of an impact player for that team. I think Miami takes advantage of that. But I think they come up a little bit short. I think the Jets win. I think it's a good game. I think Miami loses another close one. Kansas City, San Diego. Important game for Kansas City. A winnable game for Kansas City. Or so we thought. And then Matt Castle, this week, over the last week, had to have an appendectomy. He said he could play. We all knew it probably wasn't going to happen. Was not very likely. San Diego is going to be irritated beyond belief about what happened against San Diego last week. What happened against Oakland last week in San Diego. I would not want to be Kansas City. I think San Diego unleashes some fury on Kansas City, and if San Diego does lose, Norv Turner could be in some serious trouble, but I think San Diego beats Kansas City. The Sunday night game, Philadelphia and Dallas, big game in the NFC East for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys going to give the Eagles fits. They beat the Colts in overtime last week. It was a big game. This Dallas Cowboy team looks so different. They're a lot of fun to watch. I'm really enjoying watching Cowboy games now. I don't even know what to pick with this game. I'm calling for the upset. I think Dallas beats Philadelphia and continues to roll in a good football game. Next up, we have our first of what's now going to be a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. It's going to take place in Detroit, not in Minnesota, due to the roof collapsing on the Metrodome because of the snow. It's an important game for both these teams. It's an important game for Favre to prove that he can still do it. The Giants need to win to stay in the NFC East hunt. Favre did told ESPN's Ed Werder that if the game took place today, he could not play. He would not have played. I'm not buying it. I'm unsure about tomorrow. I think he does play. I think the Giants do win. I think it's a good game. Giants win. Baltimore and Houston. The other Monday night game looks like this. If you are Houston, I would not want to be them. They looked bad